HDZero actually has 2 new VRXs out this week. 2 new VRXs. And let's take a look at them. First one is the Event VRX. We've heard about this before, and now we've got pictures and video from Mr. Ryan Quillett.
What the F am I looking at here? That's the inside. I don't want to see the inside. I clicked the wrong link. There you go. That's what I... Look at that. Oh my God, that looks like a real professional piece of equipment.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is made for race directors or, event directors to be able to get 4 channels, either analog or digital. And there's even an auto switching algorithm in there if you set all the channels up and stuff. So if it drops the digital, it'll detect the analog and all that stuff. And each of them can be put out over the AV or over the HDMI.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't it do both AV and HDMI at the same time?
Oh, that I'm not sure about.
I thought it was both. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know that it can do either analog or digital on both, but I'm not sure about how that.
No, I think that's it. So it has both an analog and a digital receiver for each of these 4 channels. So the idea is that at a race, you could have some pilots who are analog, some pilots who are HDZero, and you don't have to separate them into heats. The pilot sits down, he or she is in chair number 4. And if they're running analog, it just picks them up. If they're running HDZero, it just picks them up. And then I do believe it outputs the same signal on both analog and HDMI so that you can run it into your standard DVR or into an HDMI DVR or to an HDMI screen. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it just makes the race director's life totally seamless, I think is the goal.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that it also only needs 2 SMAs, so they've got the combination of SMA.
It's got
the combination of the SMAs, so there's 2 SMAs. Yeah,
the combination of the SMAs.
So there's only 2 SMAs, even though there's 4 VRXs in the unit.
Oh, because the antenna, of course, the antenna is picking up the whole frequency range as it always does. And then they are tuning the signal internally. So you only need 2 antennas to pick up all 4. You don't need, oh, wow. That is really slick.
Yeah, nice savings for people who are running it. It makes it a lot easier to handle and stuff too. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Ryan Quillett and Duck My Squee in the chat are confirming that both analog and digital inputs are sent to both analog and digital outputs at the same time. So you would essentially be getting a lower resolution version of the HDMI of the HDZero feed sent to your analog DVR. So as a race director, you don't need an HDMI DVR anymore. If all you want to do is just record races and check that nobody missed a gate or anything.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Pretty sweet stuff.
It's huge because HDMI analog DVRs are not cheap, but they're in the hundreds of dollars range. And a system with 8 HDMI capture cards is in the thousands of dollars range.
Yeah, well, I think you can do, there's Ryan showed a 4-up in the video, or talked about a 4-up device, where you just plug the 4 HDMIs into one device, and then it does a 4-up display on one monitor for you into one input. Nice. So that's definitely a solution you could use as well.
Nice. So. I think this is, first of all, this is really cool. And it shows what makes HDZero stand out so much that for people who look at HDZero and say, well, the resolution isn't quite as good as DJI, or the penetration isn't quite as good as DJI, they're missing. And those are, I think, true statements. Milliwatt for milliwatt, whatever, however you want to slice it. But the big picture of what makes HDZero so cool as a community and as a company and a community member, this box really, this is such a great solution for racers. And what's so, how many of these are they going to sell? Really? How many people are really going to use these?
Probably not a ton. Yeah, this is more like hey, we saw a niche that needed filling to make our system better and easier to use and make everyone's lives easier, and they developed that system. I don't think this was definitely not developed as hey, we need to make something to make a bunch of money, or even to break even on the development of it, most likely.
And it's really, it's not like they're doing this out of altruism. I don't think they are. They're doing this because they know that this is an area where they can convince people to use HDZero. If they make it easier for race directors to integrate HDZero into their races, more racers will choose HDZero. And that's fine. I love it when self-interest aligns with my interest, right?
Yeah.
As a racer, and the problem with DJI, for example, is that their interests, they have a lot of people whose interests they're thinking about, and I'm only like a tiny, tiny fraction of that. And I love it that HDZero is in this position and is doing these things. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay.
So so we've got one VRX this week, and that was enough. But we actually ended up getting another HDZero VRX, something we talked about over a year ago at this point.
Can I pause you there? Can I pause you there real quick, if I may? I don't want to get accused of interrupting you or shushing you by the chat. Breakflight has a question that I think is worth addressing. Breakflight says, "How come my HDZero VRX has 4 antenna, but this one only needs 2 antenna and it serves 4 channels?" There's 2 things going on there, Breakflight. And since it's a light news day, I'll take a second to answer your question. The first is that you could always serve any number of receivers. Well, probably not any number. You could always serve multiple receivers off a single set of antennas. The antenna picks up the whole frequency range. The antenna is not tuned. The antenna feeds the signals from the entire frequency range into the receiver, and the receiver tunes in on one channel. So it's always been the case that you could split a single antenna to multiple receivers and have them tune in on different channels. We don't do that because we seldom need more than one receiver in a single box, but we could do it. The reason this only has 2 antennas and not 4, though, is that it's tailored specifically for racing. They say, I don't remember where I read this, this will not have the same range of penetration and resistance to multipath and so on as a 4 antenna receiver. But for racing, it's going to be just fine. And that's the limit there.
Yeah, I think one of the things to consider maybe, and then I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Carl's explanation of how the normal HDZero VRX works is that all 4 antennas need to be populated because it does averaging on the sides, and then those are both fed in the FPGA as 2 separate signals. So I do think there is some validity in saying like, hey, why can't I run 2 instead of 4 antennas if I don't want to run all 4? Like some way to null them out. But I believe the way the design works, and because 4 would be better if you have 4, and you want the best when you're flying personally, I think you're just going to have 4 because that's kind of the best way to design it for a personal person. And like when you're on a race field, you know, like Ryan even mentions, just throwing 2 patches on, a left hand and a right hand, and pointing it at the field. You know, so you kind of get all the cross antennas, and you can pick up both groups. You know, so the left hand and the right hand groups. You just don't need that good of signal when you're doing DVR for races versus like a personal signal.
Now, you say DVR for races, but in theory, some people could use this. I mean, at races, oftentimes they'll have the same VRX fed into the AV input on the goggles and to the DVR. So this could be used as a racer's primary feed, theoretically.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
I mean, the racer, my understanding is the racers always have the option to use their own receiver, but if they have a dropout or something, it's on them. Whereas if you're using the race's receiver, then if you have a dropout, the DVR will show it, and they'll restart the race or something. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Continuing, though, another VRX from HDZero. Go ahead, Blunty.
We've got, this is a bit of a weird one, but this came out, this was teased like over a year ago, and there's a lot of confusion about what was in it. We knew what was in it, but it took a long time to come out, and we finally got it. This is the FrSky Tandem X20, which is a new radio from FrSky that has an integrated HDZero VRX inside of it, and a monitor for you to view it on, and an HDMI out port for you to send it to a pair of goggles.
Yeah. So we'll go back here. Well, this was teased, as you said, Blunty, a long time ago. And the FreSky X20 came out some time ago, but it didn't have the HD FPV version that they promised. And now it's here. And as we suspected, it's HDZero. And as we know, it is not a 0 millisecond digital video transmission system.
Sure.
No, I don't know what's 0 millisecond even mean in this context. It's nonsense. But what do you think of this, Blunty?
It's kind of interesting. I don't really know maybe somebody in chat can tell me who this is for, because I don't really know who this is for. I guess if you're already buying an X20, maybe there's some world in which this makes sense for someone. But this does seem like a weird add-on to a radio. Like, I don't know how many people are going to be flying HDZero with the screen. Maybe people who are doing wings, but I still think you want some kind of view. I guess it's like a sort of a ground station-y thing that you hold. Makes a little bit of sense. I don't know. It's just it seems like a weird combination of.
Well, I think the pricing will play into it. Do we know pricing?
I think it's like 5 something, but I'm not sure exactly.
How much? What's the premium for this versus the standard X20? I guess is the question.
Gotcha.
I'll let you. Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's actually officially a price out yet.
Because you could see, like, there were people who loved the original Tango with the built-in screen. I mean, they're weirdos, and I don't understand them, but they did exist. And they would just run the AV cable up to their goggle, right? And the Tango was there, and you could theoretically imagine doing that for HDZero. It's nice to have the screen on the transmitter as just like a quick check your image, but then you put your goggles down, you plug your HDMI in, and you fly in your goggles. I think it's plausible. Plausible.
Yeah, I guess it does end up where this comes in. I thought I had seen somewhere 500, but I do not see that actually listed anywhere. That may have been like the rumor before.
Yeah.
So I guess it does end up where it depends on where it ends up. But I think the normal X20 is like 3 something. So
yeah. So what kind of a premium are you paying for this receiver? I can't help but notice that it only has 2 antennas. We can confirm that here with the RSSI readout in the upper right. It has 2 antennas, so
interesting.
It's not going to be a 4-way diversity or whatever the big VRX is. Presumably have a little worse signal. And wonder how long the battery will last. But interesting.
Yeah. It's cool to see more options coming out. We had for a long time, we only had a single VRX, the Sharkbite VRX, and nobody could get it. And it was $250, and now we've got a bunch of different options coming out. So that's pretty cool.
Boom FPV in the Discord server says it's $540 on Amazon. Amazon pricing is always a little screwy, to be fair. How about if we go to Amazon, how much is the regular FrSky X20? X20S, standard X20S. No, that's the standard X20S is $534.
Wow,
the X20S is $534. The X20 is $429. Go ahead.
Yeah, those aren't even the HD version. So
yes. Whew. Well, Amazon pricing is always screwy. I don't know if anybody's got the price for the HD version. Boom FB says he's not sure if that has the HDZero. But it's nice to see HDZero branching out. This has always been their dream, to sell components to manufacturers who will integrate them, and FrSky is making that dream come true. If only this could run ExpressLRS, it would be a much and EdgeTX instead of EthOS.
Yeah, we could hope, but I don't know that FrSky is interested in doing that.
Yeah, probably not. This actually could be a really good, like, if you get your mind out of the FPV gutter, this could be a really good radio for like a wing pilot. Wing pilot's going to fly with maybe FPV, no goggles, just fly around the field. You could see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to know what people's interest in this product is. Like, will they actually use it? Because again, you have to buy a $500 or $400 FrSky radio to get the part with the screen and with the HDZero VRX. So
it's a nice radio.
Yeah, but it's ethOS only, and it's like, I don't know.
Bingo.
Yeah, there's so many like caveats, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's got 2.4 gigahertz FrSky built in. Oh boy. And it's got 900 megahertz FrSky R9 built in. Oh boy. So, and it runs on EthOS, which I'm sure EthOS is fine, but obviously OpenTX and EdgeTX are sort of where the FPV community is at in a lot of ways. And I think you look at stuff like ExpressLRS and all the stuff they're doing. It's not just that EdgeTX and OpenTX are the operating system for the radio. It's all the features that they integrate from all this extra stuff that the community is working on. And it's just not accessible if you're not running OpenTX or EdgeTX. So
yeah.
Yeah, commercial VLOS use. Absolutely. There's a lot of commercial pilots who would prefer to not fly with goggles.